welcome to the Unbotchable podcast. I am your host, Bryant Niles. Today we're going to have a very exciting episode. We're going to start with the first installment of a 4-part series on my own personal wrestling views. We're going to have an ISPW Show recap and review, as well as our weekly roundup. Thank you for clicking, and let's jump right into it. As I said before, this is going to be the first of the 4 installments of my personal wrestling views. The next 2 weeks are going to be, this week and 2 weeks after are going to be 3 different viewpoints that I have. And the 4th week is going to be something very fun that I'm going to talk about. Very excited about it. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great conversation. I'd like to hear what you guys think about it when we get there. But for now, let's start with view number 1. To me, the basis of all wrestling programs should be quality entertainment, regardless of what is happening. Everything in the ring should be done in a way that entertains, draws in viewers, rather than just take up time. There are programs recently, like Monday Night Raw, which uses fillers throughout the show so it can reach their 3-hour time slot. Recently, they've had Inda share with 2 different squash matches in back-to-back weeks, which does not really help fans gain a better liking of the program or the superstars that are in the ring. If anything, it just frustrates them that their time is being wasted. And instead of seeing people that they would like to see and other more entertaining forms of wrestling, or maybe even a segment that they might be interested in, they're getting a match that lasts 2 minutes but takes up like a whole 15-minute block with a build and everything they have with it. Having things like that really dampens a show and can make it hard for a show to rebound. I've seen recently with AEW Double or Nothing. The show had a few duds in there that seemed like time fillers. You know, the Battle Royal, although it wasn't a time filler, clearly had a lot of importance to it. At the same time, it just didn't carry up to the standards that the fans were maybe expecting until it was just Orange and Swerve left. And that was about like a half an hour match. So it was about 25 minutes where the fans really weren't that invested in the whole thing. So in my opinion, when you have a wrestling show, getting crowd engagement, getting crowd to be involved and interested and not looking at their phone and not looking for concessions, not looking at other things that they might be able to do, is one of the best ways that you can try to further your company, further your wrestlers' images and standing within the wrestling world, and it'll help everyone involved, the fans, the company, employees, creatively. You know, sometimes shows you can see where they just don't know what to do, so they throw out a random match or a random segment that no one really asked for. You know, the WWE used to do it a while. There'd be random backstage segments that didn't pertain much to the show, or random matches that were just for fun. But you know, sometimes crowds aren't looking for that kind of stuff. Sometimes crowds want seriousness. Sometimes they want to be goofy and have the funny stuff, but sometimes they don't. And you got to kind of read the room as you're sending stuff out to the ring. You know, if you start the show and you see that this crowd is, you know, cheering heavily for the heels or whatever it might be, you have to adjust your show accordingly and send out the best matches in whatever order. And you keep the main event as the main event, obviously, because that's the draw of the show. But the other matches in between, you can switch and change and move and send her all around places so that it has the best entertainment value throughout the course of the show, whether it be in a 1-hour show, a 3-hour show, a 2.5-hour show, you know, whatever it is. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for maintaining that level of entertainment throughout the entire program, which is something that I'm very passionate about, as keeping a show as entertaining as possible throughout the whole thing, no matter what you have to do. If you think outside the box, you think outside the box, and you throw something out there that might work, might not work, but either way, even if it doesn't work, people are still looking at it and they're in some way entertained, because they're putting all their effort into watching something that they don't like because they don't like it, but you're still watching it. So that's something you always have to think about when you're, whether you're watching a show or you're booking a show. No matter what you do, even if it's like the worst idea, doesn't make any sense, people will watch it and they'll still be, in a sense, entertained because of either how awful it is or, on the good side, how great it is. So that is my first wrestling view. Out of the next 3 weeks, there will be 2 more views and a final special project that I'm going to be excited to work on and get for you guys in about 3 weeks. So be sure to keep on the lookout for that. Entertaining a fan base, a crowd, fans at home, it's very different. Entertaining in a crowd is different than entertaining fans at home. But if you can find the happy medium between it, find something that works best for the fans at home and the fans in the crowd and wherever else the fans might be, I think you'll have a great show and a long-running promotion. So entertaining fans, entertaining show, that's my first major wrestling view. Now next on this lovely episode of Unbotchable, I want to talk about the ISPW show that I went to just last night. It was in Totowa, New Jersey for Totowa Day, a free show nonetheless, which is always great to see. So we're just going to get right into it, talk a little bit about it, talk about some of the matches, what I thought. I'll give a little overview of the show at the end. So let's just jump right into it. We had Michael Morris against Colton Charles. I thought it was a great match. It was the opening match. The match ended. Well, here, I'll start. I'll start with what happened leading up at the end. So, Colton Charles, he hit a very nice-looking spear towards the end of the match, which looked like it was going to end it. Looked like no way Mars was kicking out. Looked like that was it. Until the referee noticed Mars had his foot on the bottom rope. This, of course, leads to Michael Mars getting his own leverage pin on Colton with his feet all the way on the top rope for the victory. I thought that this finish helped Colton Charles gain a lot of sympathy and praise from the fans because of how he lost the match. I mean, he was so loved by the crowd that he was cheered all the way back behind the curtain. Mars winning was actually the lone heel victory of the night. And I feel like it set up the night for a lot of cheering and celebrations for whenever a face won. Just because, the heels won early and that the crowd did not like that. So any time that a face would win and what have you, it would lead to a lot of cheers, a lot of excitement from the crowd, which is always what you're looking for, especially when you're opening a show. You want to set the tone for the rest of the card. And I think this match did a great job. It was physical. It had an ending that really riled up the fans. I think that was a great first match of the night. Next we have TJ Epics versus Yosifer L. It was a very entertaining match with great character work by L. Epics did very well. He's super athletic. I was very impressed by L with his persona. He was very good at selling his character and making, some of the fans around the ringside a little timid about who he was and what he was doing, which is, when you have a character like his, that's what you're looking for. But another thing about his character work is that it really allowed for fans to be behind Epics for this match just because of the character that L is. It's like they wanted no part of him at all. They were all behind Epics. He gets the win. Great match. It was a great underdog story early in the show. which was very great because sometimes shows don't have that all the time, like an underdog story in the card. This one had one and it was great. Epic's winning, I think it was great for him, but it also this match did a great job showing that L is a dominant force in the business. He was very good. He was very entertaining in that match. I was very impressed by both competitors in this one. Next, we have Eric Corvus versus Joe Clean. The crowd loved Joe Clean. They hated Eric Corvus. They have great chemistry together. Corvus is great at interacting with the crowd. He's great at improvising with the crowd. He gets more heat because of how he interacts with the crowd, which I think always works great when you have a heel like that. Corvus and Clean, they had tons of great spots throughout the match. Corvus used Joe Clean to wipe up dirt on the floor. Corvus, he shoved a lollipop that he used into Joe Clean's mouth, which was the opposite of Clean. Very dirty, very dirty. It was a great improvisation from both of them, which showed a lot of great professionalism, that they can roll with the punches and change on the fly throughout a match, regardless of what's happening around them. And Joe Clean coming out with the victory in this one. It was a great idea. He put the fans into a frenzy after he won. The fans loved it. It was a great match. I was very impressed by that. Now we have GKM, Joey Ace, and Ray Calitri for the Tri-State Championship. It was a very high-octane contest. Had a lot of twists and turns on who was going to win, who might win. All three wrestlers were very super athletic, and so having them in a triple threat setting was a great idea. GKM he captivates audiences like little other performers are able to. And Ace and Calitri, they really fed on the negativity that they received, and they sent it back to the fans, which riled them up even more and got them even more into GKM's corner. It was great to have him retain GKM, the Tri-State Championship. He's doing great things as a champion. He's really elevating the title, and I don't see him slowing down or losing anytime soon. I'm always very impressed whenever I see GKM, as well as Joey Ace and Ray Calitri. They're also very impressive, but GKM, especially as a champion, has been very impressive. There's not much that these guys can't do that another, more, I guess, viewed wrestler would be able to. So I think just having them, in this match, especially, on a free card at a big event with had tons of fans at ringside, I think it was a great idea, and I was very happy to have seen this. It was a great match. So every match was a great match, honestly. And then we have the main event, Vargas, Rick Recon, for the ISPW Heavyweight Championship. I thought it was a great match from start to finish. There were times that it looked like Vargas was going to just sweep through Recon and get the win. It was easily the match of the night. Everything worked out before, during, and after the match. I'm going to be posting some videos of it on my Twitter, and I think the match is out on the ISPW YouTube page if you also want to watch it there. I thought Recon retaining was the absolute right choice. I feel, when I go to book certain things in my head, like when I see matches, a lot of things that I look for is chaos. I love chaos. Chaos makes every show better. It makes us for a much more entertaining atmosphere. Because you never know what's going to happen. So having that little pinch of chaos thrown into every show is something that I strive for. And that's something that maybe Vargas could have brought to ISPW as champion. I probably would not have booked that. And obviously, it was not booked here either with Recon retaining. Because I just think Recon is too good to take the title off him. But, every time I see a championship up for grabs and I see him facing the champion facing someone that can throw a little wrench into the company and throw some confusion and a different feel into the show. That's really what I look for, to make a more interesting, more dynamic show with a lot more suspense, and you never know what's going to happen, that feeling you get. So that's what I always look for in every show, not just ISPW or anything. I look for that in every show. Now, the show as a whole, I thought it was a great crowd. I thought it was a great show. It was very raucous over there. There was quality matches, great suspense and surprises. They always do a great job at ISPW. And I was even more impressed this time, considering it was a free show and they cut no corners. They had great matches the entire time. You know, everything was just what you look to see when you want to see a quality wrestling show. It was had a great flow, which kept fans' attention the whole time. It had a little bit of something for everyone, which is something that not every show has, but this one had. It had a lot of different characters, different kind of athletes that I feel like made the show a little more unique for each person that was there. You know, some people might have been rooting for Vargas more than Recon. Some people might have been rooting for, you know, whoever over whatever. So having a very varied show throughout, I thought that was a great job, and especially for a free show, the matches they had. You know, I was, like I said, I was very impressed with Recon and Vargas. You know, GKM, Joey Ace, and Kalitri was a great match. Corbus and Joe Clean, just to have great chemistry. So you throw them out there, they're gonna put some magic out. TJ Epics, Christopher L. Again, that was great character work, which was something that I love to see. I love to see great character work, and Christopher L. had great character work that whole time. It was very entertaining. You know, came through the crowd, had his horn thing. So it was very entertaining. You know, Michael Mars, Colton Charles was a great opening match. Set the tone for the show. Got everything going, got the ball moving. Had some good spears. I was very impressed by the match. You know, Michael Mars, he never disappoints. You know, overall, I thought it was a great show. You know, especially for a free show, you can't get much better than that. I was very impressed as always. ISPW does great things. Great show. I believe their next show is the 23rd of June. I think they have one at the 24th as well. And then July 7th. So they have about 3 shows coming up in the next month. I'll post more about those on Twitter. But whenever you get a chance, make sure you check out their YouTube channel and their social media. And just give them a look. Okay. Next is time for our weekly roundup. This week covers the week from June 5th to June 9th on SmackDown. So we're just going to go show by show, talk a little bit about some of the key points that I took down and some of the key matches, key happenings, you know, what might be important moving forward but might not be important, and we'll just go from there. This Monday, Monday Night Raw, we had Kevin Owens versus Gunter in a classic Monday Night Raw match. Gunter retains. This was one of the matchups I was very excited to see. When Gunter came over to Monday nights, did not expect to get it on a random Raw in June, but, you know, getting it early can mean that, you know, a later contest between the two will be even that much better. We also had Becky Lynch and Zoe Stark qualify for Money in the Bank. You know, I didn't know if Sonya was going to qualify or if Becky was going to qualify because of the Trish Stratus storyline. They go with Becky, so it's Becky and Zoe in the qualifying for Money in the Bank. So I'm sure some way Trish Stratus will play a role in determining that match. Chance and Carter had their debut, and they didn't steal the show because KO and Gunter as a mid card were pretty crazy, but I think they really showed who they were, and that was something I looked for because I knew they were gonna really show out when they had the chance, and they had the chance this week against Shayna and Ronda in a losing effort. But I think they had a fantastic match nonetheless. This will lead to bigger things from them. Obviously at WWE, they're very excited about them. They love that match that they had. They're very high on it. So I was obviously high on it from when they were in NXT. I thought they were great, and they're carrying it over very well into the main roster. Looks like there might be a Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio match coming soon, which is very exciting because everybody loves Cody, nobody likes Dom. That's kind of like that Sami Zayn, Dominic Mysterio effect, where everyone loved Sami for that one point as like the top guy, no one could touch him, and everybody hated Dom. That was like the height of Elimination Chamber around that time. So, like, I would have had this match around there, just the Sami and Dom match, just because how vast the reactions would have been. But having Cody versus Dom, probably going to be on a Monday night. I don't see it making it to Money in the Bank. I feel like that's going to be the third Brock and Cody. But if it's not, then Cody versus Dom might have a great showing over at Money in the Bank in England. At the end of Raw, we had Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Damian Priest, in which Rollins retains, comes out on top in another great match of a show that was filled with great matches. Damian Priest has been doing very well. He has a qualifying match for Money in the Bank, I believe, against Riddle this upcoming Monday. I see him qualifying actually, because it seems like they're going with the Riddle Gunter for the Intercontinental Championship. So, and I feel like having Priest in this match would be better for Priest than it would be for Riddle. But back to this World Heavyweight Championship match, I think it was obviously a very entertaining match. This card had KO and Gunter, Rollins and Priest, Carter and Chance versus Baszler and Rousey. So it was a very, very stacked card. At the end of the show, there was some dissent in the Judgment Day, with Finn Balor not listening to Priest's demands to stay in the back and almost costing him the match. And the show ends with Finn Balor, Seth Rollins face to face. Perhaps that'll be the next opponent for Rollins, or will it be someone from NXT, as there was some big news there. But we're going to start with, first off, some matches that are coming next week. We have the Dragunov and Corbin next week, which I think is going to be great. I'm very excited for that match. Baron Corbin, he's had a very up and down run on the main roster since debuting from NXT. So I think that giving him this chance in NXT and having a great showing would do a lot for him in the long run. We also had Dana Brooke making a surprise NXT debut or return, whatever it is. She shows up for the number one contenders battle royal. She doesn't win. I think she was final 2, maybe 3. I forget when she got eliminated. But the winner of that match was Thea Hale, who is number one contender. I believe she's the youngest number one contender in WWE history, which is wild. I'm always impressed by Thea Hale just because of how great her character work is. She doesn't have a lot of matches, and when she does, she usually gets squashed. So this is a great opportunity for her. It's very exciting. Just like this week, I believe it's going to be Sky Blue versus Toni Storm, which is another great opportunity for Sky Blue. So a lot of the underdogs are getting a shot at the titles, and I'm very excited for that. You don't always see that, so having that happen a little more often is always great to see. Joe Gacy, he had a great match. I'm always impressed by Joe Gacy. Obviously, like I keep saying, his character work is great. His in-ring performance is very underrated. Out of pretty much anyone in NXT, I don't think people give him the respect he deserves. But I think that they'll start to. Maybe when he gets out of Schism and starts something else for himself, you'll get more love from the fans, and they'll appreciate what he can do more. So hopefully that's soon. We'll see. Another thing from NXT was Nathan Frazier and Dragon Lee. They just have great chemistry. Dragon Lee was on Nathan Frazier's talk newscast show, whatever you want to call it. They were just having a great time up there. They have great chemistry together. I'd love to see them as a tag team, honestly. I feel like NXT is a little stacked in the singles competitors right now, and having them as a tag team it gives them a great chance to continue to wrestle and continue to show off. But at the same time, it gives them a chance to compete for something rather than just have matches to have matches. So I would love to see them maybe have a tag team championship run or go for the tag titles. But the big news of the week for NXT was at the end of the show, Braun Breaker in the parking lot. He calls out Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, tells him to come to NXT to defend it. Will he? We don't know yet. I don't know when it would be. It could be this Tuesday, could be next Tuesday, could be the Tuesday before Money in the Bank. Who knows? Either way, it looks like it's coming. It's very exciting. It's going to be a showcase match for Braun Breaker because a lot of eyes are going to be on it following Seth Rollins, return to NXT for him, which is very exciting. A lot of people are going to be looking at it. Even fans that don't really watch NXT will be watching just because Rollins is back on the show. They like to follow their favorite superstars wherever they're going to wrestle. So I think it's a great idea. I could see Breaker winning, honestly, but I think Rollins might retain. We'll wait and see if it gets made official, see what happens. But it was a great episode of NXT this week. A lot of great news, a lot of great developments and storylines. Which brings us to AEW. Started the match with Orange and Swerve for the International Championship, which is the match that stole the show. And, Orange continues his historic title reign. He's so many title defenses in such little time. He's catching up with Roman Reigns in title defenses, and Roman's been a title holder for 3 years, and Orange has been for about 6 months, and they're almost even at title defenses, which I think is crazy. Statlander retains the TBS championship. I think she's a great fit for the title. I think she can bring a lot of different style matches that Jade Cargill never really brought, which is nothing against Cargill, but I think Statlander can just help elevate the title a little bit more and get it to a great spot. MJF versus Adam Cole World Title Eliminator is going to be on Wednesday, which annoys me because I don't know why they just wouldn't make it a World Title match. Now maybe they'll change it, but last time I saw it was a World Title Eliminator match, which means that Adam Cole would have to beat the champion to then face the champion again. So, I don't know. I feel like, especially the amount of effort they put in with the promo segment, which was probably the highlight of the show that they had with MJF and Adam Cole, that segment was great. They put a lot of effort into it, obviously, to build that segment and make it something special. So having just a world title eliminator where Adam Cole can lose and that ends the story doesn't make a lot of sense to me in the long run. Maybe Adam Cole wins and then they have another match. Or, maybe MJF costs Adam Cole by disqualification to keep the story going. I just would have rather a world title match I feel like that would have been better for everyone involved, but we'll see what turns out on Wednesday. We'll see how it works out. We're also going to get the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Young Bucks next week, which is going to be big. But the big, I guess, story that come out of AEW Dynamite was the AEW Collision first main event was announced. It's a big one. We have Samoa Joe, Jay White, and Juice Robinson taking on FTR and CM Punk. I think it's going to be a great way to finish out a show, a debut show. The return match of CM Punk, a return match for Samoa Joe who hasn't been on television often. Jay White and Juice Robinson are great. FTR, fantastic. Throw all them into one match and you have something special. So that'll be on next Saturday, the 17th, AEW Collision debut. So far, even just with this announcement, I don't think they announced any other matches so far. But it looks like a great show. CM Punk coming back, obviously. Miro should be there. I believe Thunder Rosa. Andrade, possibly. So it's going to be a lot of different talent that we're not used to seeing on Dynamite every week, which I think is going to be excellent for the company going forward. Last but not least, we have SmackDown. The show opened with Paul Heyman and Solo in the ring. They wanted Jay's answer on who he's going to side with. Was it going to be Roman, Solo, and Heyman, or was it going to be his brother Jimmy? Jay essentially does not choose anybody for that point in time. Even after Paul Heyman announced that it was going to be Jey Uso versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship that night, he still does not choose Roman, Solo, and Heyman. He also doesn't choose his brother. So that's always something to keep in mind, that even when given the chance to choose Jimmy, he did not. He also did not choose the rest of the bloodline. Now, when it comes to Money in the Bank, we had 4 qualifying matches in which both members of Damage Control qualify, with Bayley and Io Sky qualifying for Money in the Bank. We also have Santos Escobar and Butch qualifying for Money in the Bank. I'm really excited with the men's match. It's a lot of not lesser known talent, but lesser known world title talent. They haven't been in the world championship scene. So this is a great opportunity for them. Even for Shinsuke, he's only had the one. I don't think he's had any world championship reigns, now that I think about it. Just a lot of like intercontinental stuff. So even him, even though he's like a main event talent, and obviously he's like one of the top guys in the company, he still hasn't been relatively connected to world championships as much as a Seth Rollins or a Finn Balor, who even himself hasn't had a lot of world title reigns on the main roster. But like those kind of athletes that you'd expect to see in a championship match. There's been a lot of those, and I'm very excited for that match. The women's match is stacked. We have Becky Lynch and Bayley already. Io Sky, Zoe Stark, Selena Vega. I think that's going to be a great match too. I'm very excited for that. Asuka gets her new title. I believe it's the WWE Women's Championship, so no longer is it the Raw Championship. I'm excited to see what they do for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Hopefully it becomes a de facto, like maybe a Universal Women's Championship, just to keep some symmetry. We had the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship, so maybe we can have a WWE Women's Championship and a Universal Women's Championship, something like that. That would be nice. We're still waiting to see on that. And then she is challenged by returning Charlotte Flair, who jumps over Bianca Belair to take the next opportunity for Asuka, which I believe is going to be in 3 weeks on SmackDown. I believe it's the show prior to Money in the Bank. Another big match that was announced were a tag team unification match with Fire and Dawn taking on Ronda and Shayna for the unification of the women's tag titles. This is a very exciting one. You know, I wish NXT had their women tag titles back, but yeah, they can always make some more. But yeah, I think Fire and Dawn have a real shot to win this. I think they're something that the women's tag division hasn't had forever. I don't think they've ever had a team as connected and in sync as Fire and Dawn have been recently. Especially since their time in NXT after their feud, they've been on a different level. Even than Ronda and Shayna. So I think having them win would be a great option. But either way, we're gonna have a tag title unification. Hopefully they get their new designed title right away instead of carrying around 4 titles. And I hope they just don't throw away the NXT ones and only carry with them the ones they have now. Yeah, especially for the women's tag titles that have had a lot of turmoil over the past few years. I feel like a new look for the titles might bring some new joy and inspiration to the titles that they haven't had in a while. So I'm very excited for that match, which is going to happen in 2 weeks on SmackDown. You had Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams at ringside for Baron Corbin's match, in which he lost very quickly. And then he also was Corbin attacked Mello and Trick. They came out to try to fight him. This is obviously setting up for a NXT Championship match at some point between Carmelo Hayes and Baron Corbin, which is going to be a very important match for Baron Corbin's career. So hopefully he does a great job at it, and he can keep him riding that wave of momentum. And in the main event for the U.S. title, Jey Uso, Austin Theory. It was a great match, but it ends with Jimmy kicking Jey, super kicking Jey, might I add, while aiming for Solo, missing Solo, hitting Jey, which costs him the U.S. title, with Austin Theory getting the win. You know, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. You know, what's next for the Bloodline? What's next for this story between the Usos and Solo? You know, Jey didn't want to get mad at Jimmy, but at the same time, he felt he was responsible for him missing this opportunity. But he also didn't want to reconcile with the rest of the Bloodline for what they did to his brother. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they go on to do from here. You know, what's the next big match for the Bloodline? Will Roman have a title defense soon? You know, a lot of big questions that still get answered. I believe Roman will be on SmackDown next week. So we'll see what he has to say when he shows up and what his plan is going forward. But it was a great week of shows, a lot of quality matches, a lot of quality segments, you know, a lot of people that should win won. Nothing to really complain about, honestly, from this week. Nothing that was shocking or overly surprising. I mean, there were some great matches, obviously. KO and Gunter, Rollins Priest, Orange and Swerve, great matches. You know, I guess the biggest surprise was Thea Hale winning the number 1 contenders match on NXT. Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins upcoming is a big surprise. The AEW Collision main event is, you know, very similar to what a lot of the insiders were reporting. They're reporting that CM Punk and Samoa Joe were going to have a program when he came back. Recently was CM Punk and Jay White. So, we got them all in there. CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Jay White, Juice Robinson, and FTR. They're all there. So this was a great week of wrestling. A great weekly roundup this week. But now that will just about do it here at the Unbotchable Podcast. I want to thank you all for listening. I want to make sure you follow on Twitter at Unbotchable, Instagram at Unbotchable, Facebook at Bryant Niles. Let me know what you think and give your feedback, and maybe what else you might want to see. What other kind of content? Also follow ISPW Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube for see all their matches and their great content they produce. But as always, stay off the top rope.